Commander Jack Overkill Thompson stood at parade rest, trying not to smirk as the blue-skinned alien instructor circled him like a disapproving art critic at a kindergarten finger-painting exhibition. The alien's designation was something that sounded like a modem having a stroke, but everyone just called him Lieutenant Zextra. Jack had been in enough war zones to spot superiority complexes from a mile away, and this guy was practically radiating them. So Zextra said, his translator making his voice sound like Morgan Freeman with a head cold, "You are the renowned Earth instructor. The one they call Navy SEAL." He pronounced it like Navy SEAL as if describing a wet circus performer. "That's correct," Lieutenant Jack replied, maintaining his position. The massive training facility around them hummed with advanced technology that made the Pentagon look like a prehistoric cave. Holographic targets flickered in and out of existence, anti-gravity training pods floated serenely overhead, and somewhere in the distance, what sounded like a quantum physics exam was being conducted in interpretive dance. Fascinating, Zextra continued, clearly meaning the opposite. "And you've been sent here too. What was it again?" "Ah yes, share your species combat expertise." The alien's secondary breathing holes whistled what was probably a laugh. "How quaint." Behind Zextra, a group of alien special forces trainees watched with their various types of optical organs. Some had traditional eyes, others had compound lenses, and one guy in the back appeared to be sensing the world through what looked like disco balls mounted on stalks. They were the best of the best from across the galaxy, and they were all thinking the same thing: what could this primitive Earthling possibly teach them? Jack's backup, Corporal Max Murphy Rodriguez, stood nearby, looking like he was trying very hard not to point out that humans had once used a stick tied to a rock as cutting-edge military technology, and now they were standing in a space station. If that wasn't progress, what was? Perhaps, Zextra suggested, his translator struggling to convey the full depth of his condescension. "You'd like to observe our latest combat simulation technology before attempting to demonstrate your, what do you call it, hand-to-hand combat?" "Actually," Jack said, finally allowing himself a small smile, "I was thinking we could start with something simple." A classic Earth Special Forces exercise. He reached into his pocket and pulled out what appeared to be an ordinary rubber duck. The aliens leaned forward, their various sensory organs focused intently on this mysterious Earth weapon. "This," Jack announced with complete seriousness, "is what we call a tactical awareness enhancement tool." The duck squeaked menacingly in the silence. Zextra's upper eye ridge twitched. "You cannot be serious." "Oh, I never joke about rubber ducks." Lieutenant Jack tossed the duck up and caught it with practiced ease. "I've seen this little guy take down some of the toughest soldiers Earth has to offer. Would you care for a demonstration?" The alien observers muttered among themselves. Their universal translators created a cacophony of confused phrases like, "Is this some kind of psychological warfare?" and "Perhaps the atmospheric pressure has affected his brain." And "What in the name of the great nebula is a duck?" Zextra's face had taken on a deeper shade of blue. "Very well, Earth instructor, show us what your waterfowl simulation device can do." Jack's grin widened. After 20 years of training Navy SEALs, he'd learned that sometimes the best way to teach a lesson was to let your students think they were about to witness something incredibly stupid. It made the eventual realization that they were the ones being stupid so much more educational. "All right then," he said, bouncing the duck in his palm. "Murphy, want to help me show these fine folks why Earth's special forces are still worth studying?" Murphy stepped forward, already grinning. "You thinking what I'm thinking, Commander? Operation Rubber Ducky is a go." The aliens were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes it's the one that makes you let your guard down. And sometimes, just sometimes, it squeaks. "Observe," Lieutenant Zextra announced, activating what appeared to be a highly advanced combat suit. The armor flowed like liquid mercury across his body, forming an iridescent second skin. "This is the XK4000 Neural Combat Enhancement System. It can predict enemy movements, calculate optimal strike patterns, and even make emergency coffee." Jack watched, rubber duck still in hand, as Zextra demonstrated a series of impossibly fast combat moves. The alien's body blurred with speed, leaving faint after images in the air. The other alien trainees chittered and hummed in appreciation. "The suit," Zextra continued, "is connected directly to our combat training AI, which has analyzed every known fighting style in the galaxy." He paused meaningfully. "Except, of course, your Earth techniques, which were deemed too basic to warrant inclusion." "That's fair," Jack said, nodding thoughtfully. I mean, why would an advanced AI need to know about something as simple as situational awareness? He tossed the rubber duck to Murphy, who caught it without looking. Or the element of surprise, the duck squeaked ominously. Zextre's translator managed to convey a snort. Perhaps you'd like to see our training course? The one that even our most elite warriors find challenging. Lead the way, Lieutenant. Murphy and I would love a tour. The alien instructor led them to a massive chamber filled with floating platforms, laser grids, and what appeared to be small automated attack drones. Holographic targets flickered in and out of existence at random intervals, while gravity shifted unpredictably between platforms. This Zextre announced proudly, is the gauntlet. It requires perfect timing, enhanced reflexes, and complete mastery of our combat technology. He gestured to a scoreboard floating near the entrance. The current record is held by Captain K.R. Thack of the Centaurian Special Forces. 47 seconds. Jack examined the course, scratching his chin thoughtfully. Looks fun. Mind if we try? By all means, Zextra said, his translator struggling to contain his amusement. Would you like to borrow some of our advanced gear first? Perhaps a neural enhancer, anti-gravity boots, a basic force field? Nah, Jack replied, pulling a length of paracord from his pocket. Got everything I need right here, he turned to Murphy. Ready to show them why humans still use old-school training methods. Murphy was already tying the rubber duck to the paracord. You thinking what I'm thinking, Commander? Operation Duck Hunt is a go. What followed would later be described in the facility's official report as a concerning display of primitive ingenuity. Jack and Murphy treated the high-tech obstacle course like a playground, using the rubber duck as a makeshift grappling hook, a distraction device, and at one point a surprisingly effective projectile weapon. The duck's squeaks echoed through the chamber as it bounced off force fields, confused sensor arrays, and occasionally bounced off the heads of hovering training drones. Each squeak seemed to mock the very concept of advanced technology. This is impossible, Zextra muttered as Jack swung from platform to platform using nothing but paracord and precise timing. The course requires advanced targeting systems too. He was interrupted by the sound of Murphy using the rubber duck to trigger all the holographic targets in rapid succession. You know what's funny, Jack called out as he dodged laser fire. Back on Earth, we have this saying, keep it simple, stupid. We call it the KISS principle. He caught the duck as Murphy tossed it back to him. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. The alien observers watched in stunned silence as the two humans completed the course in 38 seconds, using nothing but a rubber duck, some paracord, and what one alien later described as disturbing levels of creative problem-solving. Zextre's face had turned from blue to something approaching periwinkle. But the quantum targeting matrix. The neural interface requirements. Tell you what, Jack said, collecting the slightly singed rubber duck. Why don't we move on to the next demonstration? I'd love to show you guys something we call improvised tactics, he smiled. Unless you think that might be too primitive for your advanced training program. One of the alien trainees in the back, the one with the disco ball eyes, raised an appendage. Lieutenant Zextra, permission to request instruction in primitive Earth tactics. Zextre's translator made a sound like a computer trying to process a divide by zero error. The rubber duck squeaked triumphantly. The first rule of Special Forces training, Jack announced to the now attentive alien audience, is to expect the unexpected. He held up the rubber duck. The second rule is that anything can be a training tool if you're creative enough. The alien with the disco ball eyes, who had introduced himself as Clicks, was taking detailed notes on what appeared to be a quantum tablet. Query is the aquatic simulation device's squeaking mechanism integral to its tactical application. The duck's not actually the point, Murphy explained, trying not to laugh. It's about learning to use whatever you have available. Could be a duck, could be a rock, could be Lieutenant Zextra's precious XK-4000 suit, Jack interrupted, grinning as the alien instructor's secondary breathing holes flared in alarm. Which, by the way, has been deactivated for the last 10 minutes. Zextra looked down at his combat suit, which had indeed powered down without him noticing. Impossible. The neural interface. Got confused when Murphy's duck kept setting off conflicting sensor readings, Jack finished. Like I said, expect the unexpected. The alien trainees murmured amongst themselves, their universal translators creating a buzz of impressed comments and theoretical discussions about the tactical applications of Earth waterfowl. Very well, Zextra said stiffly, his translator barely managing to contain his wounded pride. Perhaps we should proceed with the combat simulation? The one designed to test actual military skills. Jack nodded. Sounds good. What's the scenario? The training chamber's holographic projectors hummed to life, creating a complex three-dimensional battlefield. Floating debris, atmospheric distortions, and what appeared to be space-time anomalies filled the room. Standard extraction mission, Zextra explained, his composure somewhat restored. A high-value target must be rescued from a hostile environment while dealing with multiple threat vectors and temporal distortions. Cool, Jack said. Mind if we do it Earth-style? Before Zextra could object, Murphy had already started distributing pieces of paracord to the alien trainees. Clicks examined his piece with all four of his disco ball eyes spinning in fascination. Query, is this some form of primitive quantum entanglement device? Better, Murphy replied. It's rope. What followed was a crash course in human special forces tactics that left the alien observers questioning everything they thought they knew about combat. Jack and Murphy demonstrated how to use basic tools and terrain features to overcome supposedly superior technology. The rubber duck made frequent appearances, usually preceded by the phrase "watch this," and followed by the sound of expensive alien equipment malfunctioning. Clicks turned out to be a natural at human-style improvisation, though his enthusiasm sometimes led to interesting interpretations of Earth tactics. At one point, he attempted to replicate a Navy SEAL rolling maneuver and ended up looking like a disco ball in a tumble dryer. Observation, Clicks announced after his third attempt. Earth combat techniques require surprising amounts of physical coordination and minimal quantum physics. That's actually pretty accurate, Jack admitted. The simulation reached its climax when the team encountered what Zextra had called an unsurvivable temporal paradox. It turned out that while advanced alien technology struggled with time dilation effects, a well-thrown rubber duck could pass through temporal distortions without creating parallel universes. It's because it's rubber, Murphy explained to a bewildered alien physicist who had been called in to observe. Flexible, see. The physicist's universal translator shorted out trying to process this explanation. As the simulation wound down, even Zextra had to admit that the Earth techniques had proven unexpectedly effective, though he insisted on noting in the official record that the success was statistically improbable and possibly a violation of several laws of physics. Sometimes the best technology is no technology, Jack said, retrieving the duck from where it had apparently spawned a small temporal echo of itself. The echo squeaked once and faded from existence. Query, Clicks said, still taking notes. Is it true that Earth special forces sometimes train with even more primitive devices? I have heard rumors of something called a stick and rocks. Before Jack could respond, the training facility's alarm system activated. Red lights pulsed as an AI voice announced warning. Hostile forces detected. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Zextra's combat suit flickered as it tried to reactivate. Impossible. Our security systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. Jack and Murphy exchanged looks. Well, Jack said, tossing the rubber duck from hand to hand, guess it's time for some real-world application of those primitive Earth tactics. The duck squeaked in agreement, possibly in multiple timelines simultaneously. The space pirates, as it turned out, had done their homework. Their first move was to deploy a quantum disruption field that turned all the facility's advanced technology into very expensive paperweights. Their second move was to hack the artificial gravity controls, which would have been more effective if Jack hadn't already tied everyone together with paracord. See, he said as they dangled in a human-alien chain. Sometimes old school works best. Query, Clicks called from somewhere near the bottom of the chain. Is this also part of Earth training? Nah, Murphy replied, swinging them toward a maintenance hatch. This is just Tuesday. The pirates, a motley crew of various species led by someone who called himself Captain Havoc, which Jack thought was trying a bit too hard, had expected to find the galaxy's elite forces helpless without their tech. Instead, they found themselves facing a group of highly trained aliens who had just completed a crash course in human combat tactics, led by a Navy SEAL with a rubber duck. Status report, Jack called out as they regrouped in a maintenance corridor. What are we working with? Zextra, his combat suit now nothing more than a fashionable onesie, looked devastated. Nothing. They've disabled everything. The neural interfaces, the quantum weapons, the AI combat systems. Great, Jack said, grinning. That means we're all on equal footing. Murphy, still got that duck. Never leave home without it, Commander. The aliens watched in fascination as Jack outlined a plan using nothing but hand signals, occasional duck squeaks, and what Clicks would later describe in his report as concerning levels of human enthusiasm for improvised warfare. "But how will we coordinate without our neural network?" one of the alien trainees asked. Jack held up the duck. "This is now our command and control center. 1 squeak means advance, 2 squeaks means retreat, 3 squeaks means throw something at the nearest pirate." Query Clicks raised one of his eye stalks. "What if the throwing object is also the duck? Then you get extra credit." The plan, which Zextra insisted on noting was barely a plan at all, was deceptively simple. While the pirates were busy trying to crack the facility's quantum vault, not realizing that all the really valuable stuff was backed up in a filing cabinet, because sometimes computers crash, the team would use the maintenance tunnels to outflank them. "Remember your Earth training," Jack said as they prepared to move out. "Keep it simple, use what you have, and when in doubt, throw the duck," Clicks suggested hopefully. "Actually, I was going to say work together, but yeah, throwing the duck usually helps too." They moved through the facility like shadows, using hand signals and duck squeaks to coordinate. The pirates, expecting to deal with high-tech resistance, were completely unprepared for old-fashioned stealth tactics. More than one guard was taken out by what they would later swear was a squeaking projectile that defied the laws of physics. "This is impossible," they heard one pirate say after Clicks successfully used his eye stalks to reflect emergency lighting in a pattern that spelled out surrender in 3 different languages. "Their tech is supposed to be down." "That's not tech," Murphy called out from hiding. "That's jazz hands." The confusion on the pirates' faces as they tried to process this concept gave Jack all the opening he needed. The rubber duck arced through the air in what could only be described as a ballistic trajectory of destiny. Captain Havoc himself went down to a perfectly timed duck to the head, followed by what Clicks enthusiastically called a primitive Earth dogpile maneuver, but was really just everyone jumping on him at once. "I don't understand," the pirate captain muttered as they secured him with paracord. "Our intel said this facility had the most advanced defense systems in the galaxy." "Oh, it does," Jack said, retrieving the duck. "But sometimes the best defense isn't the most advanced one." He squeezed the duck, which somehow managed to squeak smugly. "Sometimes it's just a bunch of highly trained individuals who know how to think on their feet." "And sometimes," Murphy added, "it's a rubber duck." The facility's power chose that moment to return, bringing all the advanced systems back online. Zextra's combat suit powered up, immediately informing him that he had 17 urgent notifications and 1 suspicious temporal anomaly centered on a small rubber object. Query Clicks said, his disco ball eyes spinning excitedly. "Does this count as a successful completion of Earth Special Forces training?" Jack looked around at the captured pirates, the paracord-restrained captain, and the slightly singed but victorious alien trainees. "You know what? Close enough." The duck squeaked in approval, and somewhere in the quantum fabric of space-time, its temporal echo squeaked in harmony. The aftermath of the pirate incident led to what could only be described as a paradigm shift in Galactic Special Forces training. Zextra, still trying to process how his elite trainees had defeated a crew of heavily armed pirates using nothing but rope and a squeaky toy, called an emergency meeting of the facility's training council. "I propose," he said, his translator struggling to convey the mix of reluctance and admiration in his voice, "that we formally integrate Earth combat techniques into our standard curriculum." The council chamber erupted in a chaos of alien languages, with the universal translators creating a symphony of impossible, unprecedented, and one has everyone gone completely quantum. Jack stood at the podium, the rubber duck sitting proudly beside his detailed training proposal. "Look, I get it. Your technology is amazing. But today proved something we've known on Earth for a long time: the best soldier isn't the one with the fanciest gear. It's the one who can think on their feet when that gear fails." Murphy, sporting a black eye from what he claimed was aggressive duck retrieval, nodded in agreement. "Plus, you have to admit, the pirates' faces when Clicks started using interpretive dance to signal tactical movements? Priceless." Clicks, who had been promoted to Assistant Earth Tactics Instructor Probationary, bobbed his eye stalks enthusiastically. Observation Earth combat techniques possess unexpected efficiency despite, or perhaps because of, their primitive nature. Also, rubber ducks are surprisingly aerodynamic. The council members watched as Jack demonstrated a series of basic Earth military drills, now modified for various alien physiologies. The sight of a 20-armed Centaurian attempting to do jumping jacks while maintaining a proper grip on a rubber duck would have been funny if it hadn't been so surprisingly effective. "The key," Jack explained, "is adaptability. Your tech is great, but it's designed to work in specific ways. Humans? We specialize in making things work in ways they were never meant to. Query. One council member raised what might have been a hand or possibly a sensory tentacle. Is this why Earth training involves using communication devices as projectile weapons? The duck's not actually a communication device, Murphy started to explain, then paused. Although, hey Commander, remember that time in Buenos Aires when we actually did use a satellite phone as a... That's classified, Jack interrupted quickly. But yes, that's the general idea. Using what you have, how you need to use it, when you need to use it. The demonstration continued with a series of exercises that combined Earth tactics with alien capabilities. Clicks turned out to be particularly good at what he called disco ball deception techniques, using his reflective eyes to create distractions while practicing standard Earth stealth movements. Your species, Zextra admitted during a break, has a unique way of approaching problems. When our systems went down, my first thought was that we were helpless. Your first thought was that we had exactly what we needed, Jack finished, because we always do. Sometimes you just have to look at what you've got from a different angle. The council was particularly impressed by the human concept of cross-training, where soldiers learn to operate effectively with, or without, advanced technology. Jack demonstrated this by having trainees run the gauntlet course twice, once with full tech, and once with nothing but basic tools. But what happens, another council member asked, when we encounter enemies with superior technology? Jack picked up the rubber duck, which had somehow acquired a small medallion for valor during the pirate incident. Let me tell you about a place on Earth called Vietnam. What followed was a history lesson that had the alien council members reconsidering everything they thought they knew about warfare. The concept that a technologically inferior force could consistently overcome advanced opponents through creativity and determination was, as Clicks noted, paradigm-shifting and slightly terrifying. The thing about humans, Murphy explained to a group of fascinated trainees, is that we've spent most of our history figuring out how to beat people who were better equipped than us. It's kind of our specialty. The day's training concluded with what Jack called improvised tactics practical, but what the aliens quickly dubbed chaos theory in motion. Teams of trainees were given random objects and told to figure out combat applications for them. Clicks, showing a disturbing natural talent for human-style thinking, managed to turn a cafeteria tray into what he claimed was a multi-purpose tactical implementation device. No one quite understood how it worked, but it was undeniably effective. Query. Clicks asked as they watched a team of trainees successfully complete a hostage rescue scenario using nothing but office supplies. Is it normal to feel this level of satisfaction from using primitive methods? Jack grinned. Welcome to the human side of warfare, kid. Sometimes the simple solutions are the most satisfying. The rubber duck, perched on its new display stand in the training facility's main hall, squeaked in sage agreement. 6 months after the pirate incident, the Intergalactic Special Forces training facility had undergone what official reports called a significant philosophical adjustment, but what everyone else called going full Earth. The changes were everywhere, from the new basic training obstacle course featuring a conspicuous lack of quantum physics to the mandatory primitive tools appreciation classes. Jack stood in the observation deck watching as Clicks led a group of new recruits through what he had dubbed Duck Dynasty training. The disco-eyed alien had taken to Earth tactics with almost frightening enthusiasm, even going so far as to requisition a custom-made tactical vest with specialized duck holders. Your methods, Zextra admitted, standing beside Jack, have proven surprisingly effective. Though I still maintain that using a rubber duck as a graduation ceremony badge is somewhat undignified, says the guy wearing one on his combat suit, Murphy pointed out. Zextra's secondary breathing holes fluttered in embarrassment. His XK4000 suit did indeed sport a small rubber duck emblem, which he claimed was purely for motivational purposes. The latest training results are in, Zextra continued, pulling up a holographic report. Combat effectiveness up 47%, adaptability ratings increased by 62%, and emergency response times improved by 53%. He paused. Though we're going through an alarming number of rubber ducks. Below them, Clicks was demonstrating what he called a tactical duck deployment pattern, but what looked suspiciously like juggling. Somehow, it was working perfectly to confuse the training room's sensor arrays. Query. For historical record, Clicks called up to the observation deck. Is it true that Earth Special Forces don't actually use rubber ducks as standard equipment? Not usually, Jack admitted. But after today's demonstration, they might start. The facility had become something of a legend in military circles. Stories spread about elite alien commandos who could disable advanced security systems with office supplies, conduct stealth operations with furniture, and maintain perfect unit cohesion through the strategic application of squeaky toys. We've received inquiries from 17 different species about the new training program Zextra reported, including, surprisingly, the pirates we captured. Apparently, Captain Havoc was so impressed by his defeat that he's applying for rehabilitation and instructor training, C. Murphy said. Even bad guys respect the basics. The graduation ceremony that afternoon was a sight that would have made any Earth drill sergeant question their sanity. Rows of alien special forces operators, each standing at perfect attention, each wearing some variation of the now standard duck insignia. Even the quantum AI running the facility had adopted a duck avatar for official communications. When I first came here, Jack addressed the graduates. Lieutenant Zextra asked me what Earth could possibly teach the galaxy's most advanced warriors. Look around. We taught you that sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes it's the simplest one. Sometimes it's the one that makes you think differently. He held up the original rubber duck, now mounted on a quantum crystal display stand with the inscription for exceptional service in combat innovation. But most importantly, we taught you that true combat effectiveness isn't about having the best technology. It's about having the best training, the best mindset, and the ability to work with whatever you have. And ducks someone. Probably clicks, called from the audience. And yes, sometimes ducks, Jack agreed. Class dismissed. As the ceremony concluded, Zextra approached Jack with what appeared to be an official document. The Council has approved the establishment of a permanent Earth Tactics Division. They want you to run it. He paused. Though they did request clarification on your requisition for 1,000 rubber ducks. Tell them it's for the advanced training course, Jack said with a straight face. There is no advanced training course. Not yet. Later, as Jack packed up his office for his extended stay, Murphy looked at the training facility's new mission statement. Now prominently displayed in the main hall, victory favors the prepared mind, the adaptable spirit, and the soldier who remembers that sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. Below it, in slightly smaller text, duck deployment certification required for all advanced operations. The original rubber duck sat in its display case, a silent reminder that in the vast, high-tech expanse of space, humanity's greatest contribution to galactic warfare might just be remembering that sometimes you don't need quantum physics to win a fight. Sometimes you just need creativity, determination, and maybe, just maybe, a rubber duck. Somewhere in the facility, a temporal echo squeaked one last time in agreement,